Discover the NBA legends who revolutionized the game and forced the league to rewrite its rulebook. Witness how these game changers pushed boundaries, challenged conventions, and left an indelible mark on the basketball history. Number 1. As a result of LeBron James' efforts, the NBA has instituted a rule designed to deter bullies from targeting him. LeBron James, who is commonly referred to as the King, has not only dominated the basketball court with his great skills, but has also exercised his influence off the court. James's dominance on the court has earned him the nickname the King. Throughout his remarkable career, LeBron has been the subject of aggressiveness and aggression from opposing players who have sought to disrupt his game. These players have done this in an effort to take him out of the game. The National Basketball Association, NBA, recognized the need to protect their star player and promote fair competition as a result. And as a result, they implemented a regulation that is especially designed to discourage bullying techniques that have been directed against LeBron. This guideline, which is once in a while alluded to as the LeBron Rule, restricts over-the-top actual contact, ridiculing, or badgering coordinated at specific players. This shows not exactly the amount of an effect LeBron has had on the game, yet in addition, the amount of influence he possesses over the fortunes of his own club, the principles and guidelines of the association. Number 2. The kicking style used by Reggie Miller was responsible for a rule change that penalized kicking defenders. During this time on the court, Reggie Miller utilized a novel strategy, which consisted of kicking his legs out in front of him before attempting jump shots. Miller is best renowned for his exceptional shooting ability and strong competitiveness. Because of this unconventional maneuver, he was able to establish space between himself and the defenders and generate fouls, which gave him an advantage on the offensive end of the court. Nevertheless, this strategy presented a risk to the opposing team's defenders, who ran the risk of being accidentally hit by Miller's flailing legs as they chased after the ball. The National Basketball Association, NBA, changed the rules to penalize offensive players for kicking their legs out in an unnatural and potentially injurious manner. This standard change was made in light of the need to safeguard the well-being of protectors, which was recognized by the NBA. The reason for this guideline change was to make the game more secure for players, cut down on the quantity of unnecessary wounds, and give a level battleground to every individual who partook. Number 3. The forceful dunks of Darryl Dawkins and Shaquille O'Neal led to the development of backboards that were made of stronger material and rims that could be broken. Both Darryl Dawkins and Shaquille O'Neal were dominant centers who were known for their thundering dunks, which had the ability to rock the entire arena. Their incredible strength and powerful slams frequently resulted in broken backboards and damaged rims, which led to exciting moments but also caused delays in the games. The National Basketball Association, NBA, realized the necessity to adopt sturdier backboards and breakaway rims in order to accommodate the strength of these outstanding athletes and to prevent disruptions caused by equipment damage. It was possible for players like Dawkins and O'Neal to show off their tremendous dunking power after the installation of these reinforced structures. This was accomplished without jeopardizing the safety of the other players or causing any additional delays. Besides the fact that this new advancement worked on the whole inside for observers, however, it additionally exhibited the association's devotion to acclimating the steadily changing elements of the game. Number 4, Shaq was also influential in getting a rule changed to prevent teams from intentionally fouling each other in order to gain an advantage. Shaquille O'Neal, a powerful force in paint, created a unique challenge for opposing teams owing to his toughness and domination around the basket. This led to the rule change that prevents teams from intentionally fouling each other in order to gain an advantage. However, his weakness was his poor ability to shoot free throws, which led rival teams to employ a technique that became known as Hacker Shaq. This approach constituted of purposely fouling Shaq away from the ball in order to send him to the free throw line, where he had a considerably lower success rate than any other area of the court. The flow of the game and the amount of enjoyment it provided were both negatively impacted as the number of intentional fouls by committed players grew. In response, the National Basketball Association, NBA, adopted a new regulation that is more generally known as the Hacker Shaq rule. This rule seeks to deter players from intentionally fouling away the ball. The purpose of this rule was to maintain the fairness of the competition by preventing teams from taking advantage of a player's vulnerability by purposefully fouling them in situations that did not involve basketball. The new set of regulations made for a more entertaining and fluid game while also making the competition more even. Number 5, the insult of wagging the finger, made famous by Dikembe Mutombo, has been made illegal and celebrations have been penalized. Dikembe Mutombo, a remarkable shot blocker and power forward for the defensive stalwart who developed a signature move that became synonymous with his defensive brilliance, the finger wag. The player produced a technique that became known as his signature move. After deflecting a shot from an adversary, Mutombo would wag his finger in a fun manner as a symbol of his supremacy and to let his adversaries know that their attempts were fruitless. The National Basketball Association, NBA, viewed this gesture as excessive taunting and rude towards opponents, despite the fact that it provided a bit of personality to the game. As a result of this, the league made an executive decision to outlaw the finger wag taunt and institute stricter standards regarding celebration. The public b-ball affiliation had the objective of protecting incredible skill, regard, and sportsmanship amongst its players, as well as eliminating extreme provoking and ensuring that the consideration is kept on the actual game. The association attempted to track down a harmony between permitting players to communicate their thoughts and keeping a gracious climate on the court by punishing festivals that went excessively far. This was achieved by rebuffing festivities that went excessively far. Number 6. As a direct result of the big balls dance, there are now more stringent laws regarding taunting and celebrations. The National Basketball Association, NBA, has seen an increase in players engaging in flashy and controversial celebrations in recent years. One of the most famous examples of this is the big balls dance, which was made popular by players like Sam Caswell and consisted of making a motion that mimicked the size of a pair of imagined basketballs. Within the league, discussions over sportsmanship and appropriate behavior were sparked as a result of these overly enthusiastic celebrations. The National Basketball Association has implemented more stringent limits on taunts and celebrations in response to concerns regarding excessive taunting and inappropriate gestures. The association underlined that it was so essential to keep an expert mentality and recognize each other on the field, while likewise giving players the opportunity to articulate their thoughts inside specific limits. The public b-ball affiliation, NBA, needed to keep up with the amusement worth of festivities while additionally guaranteeing that they stayed inside adequate cutoff points. So it embraced these more rigid principles with an end goal to accomplish this fragile equilibrium. Number 7. To save players from potentially harmful closeouts, the so-called Zaza rule was implemented. The Zaza rule was given its name in honor of Zaza Pachulia, a former NBA player who was well known for the aggressive manner in which he played the game. Pachulia was involved in a closeout play in a certain instance, and during that play, he slid his foot underneath an opposition player, which resulted in the player sustaining an injury. This incident raised worries about the safety of players and brought attention to the possible dangers that are involved with closeouts that are either intentional or careless. The Zaza rule was implemented by the NBA in order to protect players' health and reduce the likelihood that they may sustain serious injuries. This regulation highlights the significance of providing shooters sufficient space to land safely after taking a jump shot and penalizes defenders for making unnatural or unsafe movements during closeouts. This rule also emphasizes the need of allowing shooters ample space to land safely after taking a jump shot. The league hoped that by enforcing this regulation, they might make the playing field safer and reduce the number of needless injuries that were sustained as a result of players attempting unsafe closeouts. The league hoped that by enforcing this regulation, they might make the playing field safer and reduce the number of needless injuries that were sustained as a result of players attempting unsafe closeouts.